We have some leaked documents from the government themselves confirming that the migrant crisis is not going anywhere anytime soon, and the impact will forever destroy Britain, our economy, and of course, our culture. Now, one issue has always been about national security and of course, just on a societal level when it comes to the safety of our people. That's going to continue, considering they are now saying that, according to this leaked document, that the migrant crisis to last at least 5 more years, at the level that we are seeing. It doesn't mean it's going to be solved. It doesn't mean that we are now going to be completely closing the borders or protecting our people. No. The level that we are seeing now is still going to be lasting for at least 5 more years. Then it's going to go back to what it was just a few years ago, which was already a problem. So for the establishment, the level that we had, for example, before 2020, was not a crisis. For us, it was a crisis. It's at least since the 2000s, obviously even before that, but since the 2000s and Tony Blair, it's been a massive problem. But for the establishment, those numbers were manageable, right? So they're saying that the level that we've been seeing since 2020 onwards, that's still going to be lasting for another 5 more years, which means that trying to sort out the problems that it's going to cause, it's going to take decades. If again, it might just be too late, because this is going to be reshaping the image of the country and how we are as people, and generally speaking, the economy and the security. So this leaked document that we have is an email. It's about, it was a while ago that was sent out. I believe it was around March that was sent out initially. It talked about a few things, saying that please find attached, this was for civil servants, the notes on accommodation sites. So they were talking about Bexhill, Scampton, Portland, all these other options. So the military sites, the vessels, the barges and everything else. So we have talked through with Trisha, who is a civil servant, but to confirm, you are broadly content that all the tests are met, as long as, so for example, the approval is secured for Portland alongside all the other sites. They said the barge in Portland, the capacity is 1,000. So you need to actually at least use the full capacity, about 1,000, to ensure value for money. VFM is value for money. And right now, there's nobody on the barge because of Legionella. But even if they bring everybody back, which is they're planning to put people back on the barge, they're only aiming for about 500, right? That's the number. So they're not even reaching the maximum capacity. So value for money, completely out of window. Portland commitments do not see us commit to any costs in 2022-2023. If that is possible, we would need to delay signing the agreement until 1st of April. They eventually signed it. And then they said that Trisha is satisfied with the value for money on Bexhill and other places like Scampton. And the former two, we are saying that there is value for money across the 5 years planned for the sites. 5 years. They were already planning it ahead because they knew that this was going to happen for such a long time. They said this assumes that we are in hotels for that period. If we are not, or if our costs are higher than we have estimated, there could be issues on value for money. On Scampton, our recommendation is to use the site for 3 years rather than 2 years. A value for money for 2 years is currently minus £2 million. 3 years is value for money. Of course, there are a lot of other issues as well. They said that these 4 sites would use up funding provided by the Treasury, and there is clearly a case to progress other sites than these 4. And so that was already planned. So in all these documents, they were planning years ahead. And since March and April, and since they've had all these meetings about all the other sites, we had to wait until now to find out exactly what they're planning. So they knew that they were going to be struggling with finding actual real solutions to stop the migrant crisis, to turn the boats around, or just close the border. And they have issues with the European Convention on Human Rights, but mostly speaking, it's not really about the ECHR. What we've been saying on this channel for years, the United Nations, The United Nations, the migration pact that we've signed up to, the Convention on Refugees, all these problems. And this was the Tory government doing it, by the way, as we reported back in, 2018, 2019 onwards, and Theresa May signing up to all these agreements. This happened under our watch with a so-called Conservative government. So you can't really do anything because we're part of these agreements. So that it always goes back to the fundamental issue, especially when it comes to the United Nations. So the gravy train continues to be harmful for the rest of us. Priti Patel, former Home Secretary, has opposed these sites, including Wethersfield, said that she was concerned about the Home Office being evasive about the long-term plans for the site, refusing to be transparent and failing to address local concerns. Priti Patel said, local residents and councils will be deeply alarmed to learn that asylum seekers will be housed for 5 years at this site. I would expect local councils as well as public sector partners to raise concerns about this site now, and they're being in use for 5 years, which has not previously been disclosed. Yeah, that's the key point that Priti mentions. They didn't say anything about the timeline. They didn't really mention that they know they're not going to solve the problem, so they were already planning 5 years ahead. The way they portrayed it in the media, when they announced all these plans, Rishi Sunak's government, they basically made you think that these are temporary measures just for a few months until they finally discover what they're going to do. Because they said, we have the new illegal migration bill. We've got all these new legislations in place, right? They said this is a victory. So the assumption was any site that's being used is going to be so temporary, and because we're going to start sending people to Rwanda, right? Well, no, clearly not, because they know that's not going to happen. They know that they have to plan long term, even though they're not going to be in government potentially. So the plans are going to be in place for potentially Prime Minister Keir Starmer to make things even worse. I mean, it will be hilarious if Starmer actually turns out to sort it out. It will be quite funny, but it's unlikely at this point. Anyway, Martindorpney of GB News also posted this, the latest update on the shambolic situation with the border crisis. So we had some obviously disturbing news about what happened with the migrant boats. A French lifeboat arrived 15 minutes after RNLI at scene 5 miles from France. Number of French police patrolling the beaches were down 20%. Due to officers being on holiday, and of course there was lawlessness in migrant camps as well in France. There's complete chaos. By the way, a lot of it is our money. Taxpayers' money from Britain has been sent to France to get extra people, police officers, to patrol the beaches. They're all gone on holiday. What sort of system do they have in France that when it comes to the safety net of the country, which is policing and defense, it's like it's 9 to 5, Monday to Friday, and in August time we're all going on holiday. You need to be able to replace them. We know there's no appetite for them to do it. So it's an excuse saying, well, yeah, you guys go on a holiday, it's fun. We got the British money. You go on a holiday, have fun. We don't have to replace you with someone else as a substitute. It's so embarrassing what's going on. Our money is being wasted, and of course we don't know what we're doing with our border, and the French are not helping. Why would they help? It's in the interest of the migrants to leave France. Well, they're never going to stop it. So, and Macron is obviously, and his party and the people who want to replace him are worried about the next election because Marine Le Pen continues to rise. So, it's a lose-lose situation for Britain at this point until the next general election. Anyway, we'll keep you guys posted on this as usual. I'm Mahyar, Tousi, and we are the media.